Boomy interested? I was actually watching some of Boomy's content the other day when someone mentioned it.
1, 2.
Compare this again to Nobori's strat, which uses normalized movements along with the game's fixed camera option for even more consistent angles. Up to this point, the run has been extremely suspect at best. However, what happens in the second half absolutely destroys what little credibility it had in the first place. The last half of this run is so blatantly fake that it makes the previous 20 minutes look completely legit by comparison.
And... Yes! Oh, come on, let's go.
Yeah, let's fucking go!
In my opinion, one of the most impressive sections of Blindfolded 16-star. Successfully doing MIPS clip in a real blindfolded speedrun requires an extremely precise setup involving walking into a corner with the correct camera angle, and then repeatedly re-grabbing MIPS to achieve the correct spacing on the door. This is one of the most difficult and precise sections in the entire run. In the castle basement, even the tiniest mistap to the left or right can mess up your camera entirely, breaking any setup you may have had. This runner, however, throws all of that out the window. To clip through the basement door, he basically just runs straight at it and ends up in the right spot. No setup needed. Remember that there are absolutely zero sound cues here. There is absolutely no way he can know how close or far away he is from the door, because he is using literally no sound.
No, he's
the exact same is true.
He's smelling the game, baby.
Once again, with absolutely no discernible audio cues and no real setup whatsoever, he somehow either knows exactly where he is on the door, or just gets lucky enough to clip through it after randomly guessing. He spends around 30 seconds here walking back and forth along the door, and somehow is able to find the exact right spot to make it through. Somehow it still gets worse after this. At this point,
I'm actually convinced that he's doing it for real. He is blindfolded.
Should look like. It really
I think I'm
like
just seeing an ultimate gamer.
Trying to sell the illusion any further. He approaches the submarine in Dire Dire Docks from a seemingly random angle, and then tries to make it look like he knows where he is by jumping at it.
I slid off something. Fuck, am I at the submarine? Yes, okay.
The fact that he even says this is strange to me. There's literally nothing else in this
overacting a little bit
besides the sub. So it doesn't
Fuck,
really
am I playing Super Mario?
If he had to figure out what he was
Jesus, okay, well, this is good for us.
He needed to make it look like he had some kind of cue to go off of, and then did the absolute bare minimum to try to make it convincing. He then approaches the back of the sub as you would in a normal speedrun, but he ends up under the fin, causing the camera to go in an awkward direction. It should be painfully obvious how bad this looks. A real blindfolded runner would be completely disoriented in this situation, and there is no consistent way you could realistically recover from this. Despite this, he is somehow able to loop back around at the perfect angle and lands back on the fin.
It's his gamer senses.
With absolutely zero sound cues or any setup. Nothing suspicious to see here. And then there's Fire Sea.
There's some Dapper Noodle, Snowhound, Diaper Time, and Brutal Meat. Well, this has always just been an easy level, though. I could do this blindfolded, and I haven't played this game in 8 years now.
So after some more fake strats in Fire Sea,
that's some pussy
one
shit.
Fake Bowser throw setup, and some suspicious BLJ lineups, we finally come to what manages to be the worst part of the run by far. This run's Bowser in the Sky is pure gold. It contains such a large amount of glaring flaws and inconsistencies that it's insane that anyone could look at it and believe that the person playing could not actually see. He immediately starts the course with, again, completely unnormalized strats, moving through the course with small adjustments that have seemingly no explanation. He then commits what is possibly the most obvious and completely shameless move in the entire run.
I don't know how he tops some of the other shit, to be honest.
Fuck, I didn't get that extra life.
I was laughing my ass off when I first saw this. Not only does he somehow know exactly
what a man!
Where the box is, but he also knows exactly what direction the 1-up will go in once it spawns, something completely determined by RNG. Then, after chasing it on a moving platform for a completely arbitrary amount of time,
I'm sure there's a reasonable
knows
explanation.
Exactly when and where to jump to the left. You don't even need to know anything about Super Mario 64 or blindfolded speedrunning to understand that what just happened is completely bullshit. Immediately after skipping the first 1-up, he messes around on the first rotating elevator, grabbing the next 1-up in the process.
Yes, okay.
All clearly...
His acting's not even good, though. Like, why not really sell it?
He once again makes an intentional mistake.
Like, oh my fucking god, it's an extra life!
Blindfolded.
Whee! Go wild.
I fell off.
He just goes from overacting to underacting.
This is somehow the first and only time in this 40-minute run that he accidentally runs off of a platform. Except immediately after falling off, he somehow also knows to pull back to the right so he doesn't fall all the way down. Only then does he comment that he knows he's fallen down, again with absolutely no discernible sound cues. Following this, he traverses the wooden platforms and tries to go for yet another one-up.
This man's addicted to one-ups.
He clearly saw this one-up with his eyes, but then remembered he was supposed to be blindfolded. So he passes it off by acting like he knew there should be a one-up there and goes back to grab it. Again, no setup whatsoever.
Ah, got it.
Watch now as he somehow knows exactly where he is on the spinning platform and knows exactly where the first pole is. Again, anyone who was actually blindfolded here would have probably just kept holding left and run off. However, this guy is able to make a completely random amount of adjustments to make it onto the pole. He then makes his way to the next
Hypershot,
pole
Justin,
and
and
grabs the red, which
unsweetened.
he seems to be
Give some
using as an
Chocobo.
audio cue.
Okay, I know what pole I'm at.
Then, immediately after jumping off of the pole that he knows he was just on, he attempts to use 2 bob-ombs on the next platform to further determine his position.
There should be, like, some bomb-bombs up. Yes, okay.
This is absolutely pointless as he had already just verified where he was. All he had to do here was hold forward and he would have reached the next wall. At this point, he once again reiterates the fact that this is only his 3rd blindfolded run ever.
Wow, he's a prodigy.
This is your 2nd blindfolded run, isn't it?
Technically this is my 3rd.
And to be
The
fair,
first one I did was like...
while he can see, it is still blindfolded. There is a blindfold there. It
In
just
the
doesn't
last
work.
4 minutes alone, there have been countless points of extreme suspicion. From the moment he enters the stage to the moment he enters the final pipe, there is almost nothing that could be considered even remotely legitimate. However, the final Bowser throws that he does in the next 4 minutes are somehow even worse. He begins by grabbing Bowser using the normal
Is it
visual
tier 1
method.
Xerxes and the
Running
Resub
around
Archer,
Bowser with a
the
tight
Prime
enough circle to
Frazier?
grab him is something that heavily relies on visual cues to properly do. This is why in a real blindfolded run, a setup is used for the first 2 grabs that involves luring Bowser to a bomb from the edge of the platform.
God, it's such a cool
For the
strat.
final throw, a separate normalized setup is used. And yet, after only 1 miss, this person is able to grab Bowser in the normal way, no problem. Note that after this first mistake, he does not miss a single tail grab for the rest of the fight. He then winds up for the first throw and misses. Once a throw is missed, Bowser will jump back onto the stage differently depending on where he fell off. There isn't a very good way to account for this, so the only real backup is to run off and try again from the beginning. But this guy doesn't do that. He instead goes for a re-grab and gets it, again with no setup and no sound cues. He hits the throw on his second try, again using the normal visual.
This man's a hero! Let's
During
go!
his second throw, he stops and talks for about 30
Maybe
seconds.
he's like the
to describe how he
Daredevil.
First learned to speedrun
How
He,
blindfolded.
often
like,
do you practice
he's like a
outside of
superhuman
speedrun
who can do
blindfolded?
things
The
blind.
viewer is asking.
Actually not a lot. I feel like if I practiced more, I'd be a lot better at it. Most of this is just muscle memory and listening to the audio cues. But I've been speedrunning and playing Mario 64 for 3.5 years solid.
That's nothing. That's nothing.
So like I could, and well, during streams I would like, because I knew before I did my first blind
Holy
run,
fuck, James, you're good at blindfolded. Oh, that poor guy. No.
Just like
I
looking
guarantee
at
he
my
bought some Shungite.
or just looking at like away from the TV and doing the run.
He is once again constantly talking during a section that should take an extreme amount of focus to execute. And yet, he still figures out exactly when he needs to throw Bowser.
Oh fuck yeah.
After messing around for another minute, he then gets another re-grab, once again with no setup or any possible audio cues. During the final throw, he turns the camera not once, but twice to visually aim at 2 separate bombs. He then goes on yet another explanation about how he's able to do Bowser throws. the way
23
he's
sub
doing
Yuki,
them.
Crusty Schlong, Holding It Down, Supernatural Peen, Riddler, and
So, what I'm
Permafried,
doing
and
right
Tier
now,
1 Much
the reason why it's
Feels.
taking me so long to throw him is because I'm trying to time it based on like where my thumb is
Oh!
on the controller.
No, now it makes sense.
Because that's typically like a right around where Mario is, like
Right.
the direction that he's gonna throw. So I need
Usually.
to be like, if I think the bomb is where I think it is, if the bomb is where
Mhm.
I think it is, and I'm looking at it, then
Then we're golden.
Obviously, none of
Then
this
we're
makes
in.
sense in the first place, but he is directly.
Were you listening to the explanation?
Here he sits
feels
on
the
his
chakra
leg about
vibrations
using
in the
where his
air.
thumb is on the stick to know where Bowser is, which already makes no sense on its own. Except he also mentioned in his first Bowser throw that he was using sound cues.
Bowser is a little bit tricky.